First and foremost, just want to offer all honest praises, respect, acknowledgement, and thanks unto the great King of the universe, to the God of our fathers, to the God of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Thanking him for all things and everything. I bid you in the tongue of our forefathers, Shabbat Shalom, Lakol.
Shabbat Shalom, Lakol.
How's everybody feeling?
CHOKMAH.
I'm not really convinced. How's everybody feeling?
CHOKMAH.
All right, that's a little better. Amen. Thanking the Most High God for life, strength, food, clothing, and shelter. Thanking the Most High God for being God. Thanking the Most High God for the life of my teacher, Hamode Mishael ben Yisrael. Thanking the Most High God for the lives of men like him. Men who brought us to a certain point, who taught us, raised us up, and brought us to a certain point, and hoping and praying to the great King of the universe that we can take the teachings that they taught us and just firm up that foundation just a little bit stronger for the next generation that's supposed to come up. You know, we live in a world where it's so much going on. We live in a world where if you're keen on the things that the Most High God is trying to show you, you'll see a lot. Because the Most High God turns everything into a teacher, if we paying attention. The Most High God sets things in place that allows us to help us to understand his way, if we're paying attention. And the funny thing about it is, one of the things that the Most High God said is, he said, my people die for a lack of knowledge. He said, my people, sometimes they don't even consider.
That's right.
So when you see us, when we come up and we make the effort to study certain things or research certain things, to talk about certain things, it's because we want God's people to understand it. We want God's people to at least consider.
Right.
Because if you look at the world for what it is, the things that occur will cause you to believe some of the things that you see, some of the things that the Most High God has deemed as sinful. The world will make you and cause you to believe that it's a beautiful thing if you're not in tune with God. Now, I'm not one of those that are gonna go way deep into talking about certain things, but God clarifies what righteousness is. Am I right or wrong?
That's right.
God makes clear what he likes and what he doesn't. Like. Am I right or wrong?
That's right.
Okay, so I'm not gonna go too much into talking about what's gonna happen tomorrow, because I know that was talked about today, earlier on.
Right.
But one of the things that we gotta realize is, when you look and you see, just because people are happy and they're jumping around and they're doing all of these different things, and they take the most holy symbol,
right?
The most holy symbol that you can't get no holier than the rainbow.
Wow. It came out today.
Wow. Yes, it did.
Double.
Just like God said.
Just like God said.
And when he said, you see that, you will look and you will know that this is my sign that I won't destroy the earth by flood anymore.
Right.
But you have people that will take something so holy,
right,
and so sacred as that,
right,
and cause you to believe that this is something that is pleasing before God. And we can't be misled. We can't be misled just because, you know, like adulterers are some of the happiest people.
Talk about it.
I'm just saying.
Me and Mrs. Jones had a thing going on.
Some of the most happy people.
Secret lovers.
You gonna take them all?
That's
I take
what
them
we
all.
are.
I take them all. We take our guidance from God and the things that God left on record.
That's right.
You know, last week, Chief Naftali, he made a statement, and I thought that it was very prudent when he said, it's not a problem to be in the same place and have different ideas, but it is a problem to be in the same place and have different direction. So as we're trying to build, and as we're coming together and we're trying to build before God, let's consider whether we're all trying to build in the same direction.
Right.
Because imagine if you and your spouse are in the same house and y'all trying to raise y'all children two different ways. Just think about how that's gonna go. A couple of weeks ago, this whole thing about the Central Park 5 started to come out again. And so now they talked about these renewed calls for justice as it relates to these 5 young men who lost the better part of their lives to incarceration for a crime that they didn't commit. I don't want to talk about that aspect of it, though. I want to talk about the aspect of the renewed calls. Because if they're renewed calls, then that means that at a certain point we forgot and we stopped talking about it.
Right.
And things like that, we can't allow our children to forget. Things like that, we can't forget. When things occur, like what happened to Fernando Castile and Tamir Rice and all of those different things, what happens is they expect that we're going to march for a couple of days.
And forget about it.
We're going to be upset for a couple of days. And then we're just going to let it go.
Right.
Because that's what history has shown that we typically do. However, whenever you go on a train or you go to the city or wherever it is that you go, they let you know they have, how long ago was it? 2001, so it was 18 years ago.
Right.
9/11, 18 years ago, and everywhere you go, they have something that says, lest we forget.
We'll never forget.
They don't want you to forget what happened on that day. When it comes to the Holocaust, Jewish people don't let you forget.
Right.
When it comes to the things that happen to us, we don't need to forget. And the problem that occurs is that part of the reason that we forget is because we just want to be healed from the hurt and the pain that happened. But that healing, when it comes when we forget, then we lose focus and we don't give it the full attention that it needs. I know a lot of times this talk about reparations now brings back the talk about slavery. And they don't want to talk about reparations because they don't want to talk about slavery. And they want us to forget. And they want to make us feel bad when we bring it up. You shouldn't feel bad.
No, sir.
When you talk about slavery, when you want to talk about slavery, and when you talk about the tragedies and the injustices that happen to us, we should never forget. Because one of the major proverbs that they say about history is, those who forget are doomed to repeat it. And if you don't really pay attention to what's actually happening here, they trying to turn all of that stuff right back around. I want to thank the Most High God for the lives of all of those people who graduated this year, so give yourself a round of applause. And then I want to thank the lives of the Most High, I want to thank the Most High for the lives of those who graduated, so let's give them a round of applause.
Hallelujah.
We went to Tisha's graduation yesterday. Give her a round of applause. Okay.
That was her sister.
Anything else? Well, you good?
She happy. She
All
happy
right.
for her sister.
They brought up one of the people who spoke. One of the best things about that graduation. I'm gonna talk about my people for a minute before I talk about what he did. I want to talk about my people for a minute. So now, we live in a town where it's not many of us. So now, I thought I was ready. We thought we was ready. So what we did was, I got 2 chapters, huh? Okay, we're gonna get through it. Well, we're gonna pull a Chief Ooze and get through what we could get through.
That's it.
Listen, I thought we was ready. So when she came up, even though some of that we said we gonna make the loudest noise for T's, because you know, like when they called everybody else, Isabel Maticello, John Francis Pourquoi. So I was ready, and I was ready. So when T's came, I yelled, T's, all that, because I wanted to show my support. So I thought I was the best black dad there. I wanted to show my support for my baby girl. And then they called the next black child. Ooh, they had a whole section. And they had whistles. And I'm like, why we didn't get whistles? Ooh, why didn't we get
They
whistles?
started whipping.
We gotta be prepared next year. Because they called Shaniqua James Jackson James. And they was like, ooh, stomp, they had C. Yo, one black family had little fans with their child's graduation picture on it. Wow. And so when we had black families that did the wave. Wow. I felt so inadequate. I feel like the suburbs changed me.
Simple Simon.
So for the next year graduation, I need some drummers. I need the timbales. I need all that.
Like a soccer match.
Absolutely. One of the things that he said, one of the speakers went up and he read this poem, or he read this statement from Mother Teresa.
All people.
And it said, people are often unreasonable, irrational, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of being selfish with ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you are successful, you will win some unfaithful friends and some genuine enemies. Succeed anyway. If you are honest and sincere, people may deceive you. Be honest and sincere anyway. What you spend your years creating, others will destroy overnight. Create anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, some people may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good that you do today will often be forgotten. Do good anyway.
Do good anyway.
Give the best you have, and it will never be enough. Give your best anyway. In the final analysis, it is between you and God. It was never between you and them anyway.
Wow.
Wisdom come from who God give it to.
Right.
And if God only gave wisdom to us, oh, nobody else in the world would be wise, because we would have just kept it all for ourselves. So let's go into these Proverbs.
We're in the book of Proverbs, chapter 25, verse 1. Hallelujah. These also are the Proverbs of Shalom, which the man of Hezekiah, king of Judah, copied out. It is the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the glory of kings is to search out a matter.
So what he's saying is, it's the glory of God. Everything can't be easy. Because when it's easy, we take it for granted.
Right.
But when you have to do a little bit of work to do something, then you appreciate it that much more.
Right.
Because you had the work to do it. When you were 15 and 16 and 17, and you were spending your parents' money, oh, this is great. And I want the most expensive sneakers. Right. And I want the biggest TV, and I want the PlayStation and the Xbox and the Nintendo and all of that. But when you start working on your own and you got to use your own money, then you start to be a little thrifty and you appreciate it a little bit more. Come on.
Verse 3, the heaven for height, the earth for depth, and the heart of kings is unsearchable. Take away the drawers from the silver, and there cometh forth a vessel for the refiner. Take away the wicked from before the king, and his throne shall be established in righteousness.
Right, because what happens is when you have negative influences around you, you have the tendency, it becomes especially dangerous when you have power. And you have those negative influences that are around you that are influencing you to do the wrong thing. That's why what they're saying is, take away the wicked, take away the negative influences from the king. Because even though the king is the king, he still takes counsel.
Right. Absolutely.
Take away the negative counsel, and the throne will be established in righteousness. Come on.
Verse 6, glorify not thyself in the presence of the king, and stand not in the place of great men. For better is it that it be said unto thee, come up hither, than thou shouldest be put lower in the presence of the prince, whom thine eyes have seen.
Right. So what they saying is, let's look at it this way. You know how you go to service, and after service, they got all of these nice tables set up. And you decide, you know what? I'm going to go sit at the chief men's with the men. And
right.
That's where I'm going to go sit.
Right.
Because I deserve to be there.
Right.
And you go and you sit down, and you sitting down, and you got chief this person and prince that person. You sitting down and you waiting for your plate. It's better for you to be standing in the corner and then to say, won't you come sit down, have a seat. Relax, make yourself comfortable. Rather than you sit yourself down.
Somebody tell you.
And they have to tell you, nah, your table is over there with the kids.
Yeah.
You get to sit in that little pink chair right there. At BINAH, when we used to go to BINAH, they had the door. Now, for anybody who remember BINAH, they had this door. The podium and the stage was here, and they had this door right to the right. And that door said, authorized personnel only. And somebody asked, they said, well, who's able to go through that door? And they told them, well, if you have the ass, you're not authorized. Come on.
Verse 8, go not forth hastily to strive, lest thou know not what to do in the end thereof, when thy neighbor hath put thee to shame. Debate thy course with thy neighbor, but reveal not the secret of another, lest he that heareth it revile thee, and thine infamy turn not away.
So, the first thing that they're saying is, go forth not hastily to strive. And I know that fits a lot of us.
Yes,
because a lot of times, sometimes we hear something and we automatically want to react. We hear something and we automatically want to respond. But sometimes it's just a matter of taking a minute, relaxing, trying to understand the whole matter, and making sure you understand everything.
Right.
So, because what'll happen is you'll go and you'll react and you'll respond based on this one side of a story that you heard, and then somebody else is going to come right behind you and say, let me give you the other side of the story, and now you're embarrassed because you acted without the full understanding of
right.
Without the full understanding of the scenario.
Right. Verse 11.
No. Hold on. So it says, debate not thy cause with thy neighbor, reveal not the secret of another. Now, we all need to learn this.
Yes, sir.
Because the secret of another might not even be nothing that's wrong. It might not be something that's bad.
Right.
It might be your neighbor's business.
Keep it.
And we just need to learn that when you see whatever you see, sometimes that's just that person's business.
Right.
It's okay to not tell everything. Because what they said is, lest he hear it, and he revile thee, and then sometimes what happens is maybe your secrets start to get revealed.
Right.
And you know, a lot of times we don't like our secrets to be revealed.
Right.
Come on.
Verse 11. A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold and settings of silver. As an earring of gold and an ornament of fine gold, so is a wise reprover upon an obedient ear.
Right. Sometimes you have people who just have the right thing to say at the right time. You going through something, you feeling something, and they come in and they just have the right thing to say at the right time. And it makes you feel that much better. And it says, as an earring of gold and an ornament of fine gold, so is a reprover upon an obedient ear. That's the person, you know, a lot of times, especially in these days and times, when it comes to the generation gap seems to have widened a bit.
Right.
Because when you see adults and children, a lot of back in when I was a little younger, and in those times before that, there was that time where adults could discipline other people's children.
Right.
If you see someone's child doing whatever it is, you know, they'll come and they'll tell you, and sometimes you might get a mock and all of that. But nowadays, it's different.
Right.
And you got adults that say, you know what? I'm not saying nothing to that child because he gonna come out his face, and then I'm gonna come out my face, and then it's not gonna be a good situation. Good. This is the opposite of that. It's saying, so is a wise reprover on an obedient ear. That when you have to tell somebody and you tell them and they're like, Torah, I appreciate that piece of information that you gave me.
Right.
Come on.
Verse 13, as the cold of snow in the time of harvest, so is a faithful messenger to him that sendeth him. For he refresheth the soul of his master. As vapors and wind without rain, so is he that boasteth himself of a false gift. Come on. Keep going. By long forbearing is a ruler persuaded, and a soft tongue breaketh the bone.
Right. So what they saying is by long forbearance is a ruler persuaded. Meaning sometimes, because the ruler is responsible for multiple people. And a lot of times what happens is you may have to talk to the person and talk to them again and kind of come at them a different way, because you can't be a ruler that's just wishy-washy and takes every piece of information. Yeah, you know what, you're right. And then somebody else tells you something completely different. Yeah, you know what, you right. It's like, well, we both said two different things. Which one of us is right? So a lot of times when you're going to persuade somebody, especially someone in rulership, in that rulership seat, sometimes it takes a long time to change certain things. Come on.
Verse 16. Hast thou found honey? Eat so much as is sufficient for thee, lest thou be filled therewith and vomited. Let thy foot be Seldon.
Hold on. Before you go to the next one. So what it's saying, hast thou found honey? Eat so much as sufficient. Sometimes, even though you have access to certain things, it's not good to overindulge.
Right.
Sometimes you just, a little bit at a time. A little bit at a time. A little bit at a time. Even though it's available for you, the discretion of it is a little bit at a time. Come on.
Verse 17. Let thy foot be Seldon in thy neighbor's house, lest he be saddened with thee and hate.
Right. So, listen. You ever had somebody that's just always at your house?
Brought man from the 5th floor.
From the 5th floor. I ain't gonna even say that because I ain't gonna embarrass myself up there and say how long I just didn't understand when he was like 5th floor, and I was like, why is everybody laughing? I don't get it. But you come home from work, he here again?
Yeah.
We had this guy. He was giving us a price on our bathroom, and.
Go put water in your face, man. You fell asleep on the joint. Go put water on your face.
He was giving us a price for our bathroom. So now Shabbat was coming, so I had to tell him, all right, so
Time to go.
You need to hurry up. No, but I just, you know, and I'm like, look, you need to hurry up. Come to find out on his next visit, when he came back, because he didn't want to leave again, he was waiting for my Isha to finish cooking the salmon. Because he wanted him a piece of salmon. And yes. And he even said to me, he was like, I don't know what took us so long. Salmon only take 15 minutes.
Wow.
And I'm like, yo, bro, first, when I went to go get in the shower, because I figured I was going to go get in the shower, and he was going to, I came out, listen, he was waiting for to finish the salmon.
He was honest?
He came, the next time he came, he was like, yo, did he ask me, or did he ask you? He asked me to send her a text to ask her to make him some coffee. Listen. Yeah. I don't just let people. Look, yes. He was the only one who I would have felt comfortable in my house like that.
Oh, man. Did he get that second piece of salmon?
He didn't get the first piece of salmon.
He didn't get the first one.
He didn't even get the first piece of salmon. Listen, it's okay to visit, but don't wear out your welcome.
Right.
And that's what they saying. What you got in the fridge, huh? Oh, you know what? You should need to tell your Isha you ran out of Haagen-Dazs ice cream bars. I mean, you know, I'm just saying. If I'm going to be here, you know what I'm saying? Maybe we ain't get the ice cream bars no more because we don't want you to come back. Come on.
Verse 18. As a maul and a sword and a sharp arrow, so is a man that beareth false witness against his neighbor. 19. Confidence in an unfaithful man in time of trouble is like a broken tooth and a foot out of joint.
Anybody ever been in this position? Mm-hmm. You and your friends in a situation, and y'all trying to handle the situation, and you turn around and your friends ain't in the situation no more. It's just you in the situation.
You in the situation.
Sometimes you need to know who to go into certain situations with, because confidence in an unfaithful man in time of trouble is like a broken foot and a tooth out of joint. Broken tooth, foot out of joint. Come on.
Verse 20. As one that taketh forth a garment in cold weather, and as vinegar upon nitre, so is he that singeth songs to a heavy heart.
Right. So what they saying is, you know how you get you sad, your girlfriend just left.
Huh. Drink some wine.
Your boyfriend just left. And you singing the blues. You sitting in the house with your sweatpants. Can't get past that phase.
That's right.
Everything remind you of her.
Uh-huh.
Everything remind you of him. Mm-hmm. You can't talk to nobody.
Right.
Oh, man. Why you crying now? Because the sky's blue, and blue is his favorite color. Listen. So it's like one that taketh off a garment in the cold weather. It's cold. You taking off the garment, you only making the situation worse. Singing songs to a heavy heart, you only making the situation worse. Come on.
Verse 21. If thine enemy be hungry, give him bread to eat, and if he be thirsty, give him water to drink.
I guess I should have gave him that salmon, huh?
I guess so. But he wasn't your enemy.
After that second visit, he was.
He was.
Well, he was definitely higher than me. But he asked, "Can she make me some coffee?" Text him. We ain't got no coffee. I was like, well, Tats, I can't tell him that. Because I think we do have coffee. You know what I'm saying? Come on.
Verse 22. For thou wilt heap coals of fire upon his head, and Yahweh will reward thee. Verse 23. The north wind bringeth forth rain, and a backbiting tongue and angry countenance.
So, we know what a backbiting tongue is, right?
Yes, sir.
So, when you've been talking about somebody, and then you come to say shalom, and they just look at you like, you know it's that backbiting tongue. You can't expect, we are funny people. We the only people that expect that we gonna talk, say, and it's just gonna be all sweet after that. Mm-hmm. So when you've been talking and somebody looking at you funny and they looking at you sideways, just understand
you've been talking.
why. Just understand why. Come on.
Verse 24. It is better to dwell in a corner of the housetop than in a house in common with a contentious woman. As
Right.
cold waters.
So, no.
Okay.
That's just. I can't just let. I know this the same one that came in the last proverb that I did.
Okay.
But we got to talk about this.
Okay. Talk about it, Samal.
Don't think about this as a contentious woman. Think about this as a contentious spouse, a contentious woman or contentious man. Because what happens is, sometime when you come home from work, you come from a hard day's work.
That's right.
You just don't want to come home, and I'm saying man or woman.
Right.
You just don't want to come home and have to deal with contentiousness. After you just had a long 2-hour Israelite meeting phone call, you don't want to have to hear no contentiousness. I think one of the things that we all should realize and think about is, like, home is supposed to be like a safe space. You're supposed to want to be able to come home to your husband or your wife after dealing with everything that's out there. But if it's 10, 11 o'clock and they like, excuse me, we got to close the office. You need to go home soon. Just look, we got to close the bar. It's 3 a.m. Yeah, just leave me the keys. I'll lock up. Come on.
Verse 25. As cold waters to a faint soul, so is good news from a far country. As a troubled fountain and a corrupted spring, so is a righteous man that giveth way before the wicked.
Right. And that's something important. I know a lot of times we as a people, you might be right on an issue. You just don't want to deal with the backlash of what's going to come with you being right on that issue. But when we right and we give way to wicked people, when we right and we give way to things that aren't right, that's, we just need to be a little bit tougher than that. I know sometimes we don't like to say the thing that's gonna that's gonna be the thing that's gonna cause people to have issues, but we need to speak up for what's right. We can't just sit and allow wrong to go on and not say anything, because then people don't learn. We don't get better. Come on.
Verse 27. It is not good to eat much honey. So for man to search out their own glory is not glory. Wow. That's deep. That's deep. That's deep.
I'm gonna say this.
Be
And
nice. Be nice.
I'm always nice. I'm always nice. Listen, I'm gonna just talk about Moses for a minute.
Okay.
Because Moses went and had conversation with God. How many times?
Lot.
Plenty.
Right.
Moses made the first high priest. Am I right or wrong?
Okay. Right.
And all the rest of the priests.
Right.
And all we call him is Moses.
That's it.
That's it. A lot of times we feel like, listen, I know, and I think I said this before, I know we come from a place where we haven't been respected. We're not respected by anybody. Right. We're not respected on the job because we wash clothes. Right. We're not respected in the streets because we just not respected in the streets. People walk all over us. So then we want to come in and we want to add all of these different, we want to add these titles. We want to be this big person. We want to be the big man on campus. It's perfectly okay to just be a servant of God.
Hallelujah.
Because that's who Moses was.
That's what he was.
Abraham, we don't call Abraham the Haganasi chief and all that. We just call him Abraham. And he was the one that all of us came from.
Right.
It's okay to just be regular. It's okay.
It's okay to just be regular.
It's okay.
You're right about that.
You know, they call More because he taught something.
That's right.
They call, and I understand, I understand the priesthood and all of those different things. They call Cohen Levi Hagadol, they called him that because he did Levitical things. It's okay to just be regular. When you sit in a place and everybody is chief and there are no Indians,
Right.
how you ever get anything done?
Right. Can't tell me.
Because there ain't no Indians. And then the people who's supposed to be working the hardest do the less because, well, you know, I'm chief such and such. I can't be sweeping the floor.
Right.
You need to get one of the Indians to do it. We ain't got none.
Right. You're the lowest chief on the totem pole.
For men to search out their own glory is not glory. The thing that made Moses great for that job is because he didn't ask for it.
Right.
And he didn't even really want it. Anybody who wants to be the leader of Israel, me, that dude is crazy.
Right.
That dude is crazy. Moses would not have been as effective if that's what my heart's desire is to make priests. He would not have been effective.
Right.
Because he's not doing it for the right reason.
Verse 28. Like a city broken down without a wall, so is he whose spirit is without restraint.
Come on.
Proverbs chapter 26, verse 1. As snow in summer and as rain in harvest, so honor is not seemly for a fool.
So one of the things that you're going to see as the common theme all through chapter 26 is they're going to talk about various different proverbs that have to do with foolish people and foolish things and people doing foolish things. So snow in summer is something that is not something that's too likely. Am I right or wrong?
Right.
Rain in harvest time, and I know rain typically especially in Israel, they had certain, and in other countries, they have what they call a rainy season.
Right.
And that rainy season is not in harvest time.
It's before.
So what they're giving you is the example of things that aren't likely. As snow in summer and as rain in harvest, so is honor not seemly for a fool. It just don't look right.
Right.
It just don't happen. Because one of the things that I can tell you about Israelites is keen. Israelites can tell when you ain't studied.
Right.
You hear that? And that's coming from somebody who heard a lot of people who ain't studied. Israelites, when you, I want to choose my words carefully. When you go and you have people come up and they like, you know what, I'm chief this such and such, and I'm more this such and such, and I'm this person this such and such, you have Israelites that'll look at you like, you? Really? Stop playing. Because some things just don't go together. You know, when we was in Quahau, you know how many mores there were in Quahau? Echad. There was one. For the whole time that we was in Quahau, there was one more. Because he was the only one qualified to be the more. And the other thing was that he was the one that you know how hard it is to teach a lesson every week? To dedicate yourself to teach a lesson and to come up with something new to talk to Israelites about every week?
And have a full-time job.
Nah, I think he was retired at that
He was
point.
retired at that
I
point?
think so.
Okay.
When I was there. Right, but yes. But it was only one, and we were perfectly happy. Everybody was happy. Because there wasn't no fight for power and all of those different things, because there was just one. And then when the fight for power started to come, because the people who did the subtle things to try to cause conflict, that's when the place, well, that's when we left. And shortly after, the place came down. One more, everybody was happy. Come on.
Verse 2. As the wandering sparrow, as the flying swallow, so the curse that is causeless shall come home. A whip for the horse, a bridle for the ass, and a rod for the back of fools.
And I know that that's the type of stuff that we don't like to talk about. Mm-hmm. And obviously, the whip and the bridle and the rod is not the first option. But you can't take it off the table as being an option. Mm-hmm. You know, take it from a person who used to get mockers all the time. The mocker didn't, because we were boys. We were big. My mother and she threw belts, she threw punches, she threw everything that she needed to throw. And after a while, you just kind of took it. The worst part about the mocker, and the part that made you remember the most, was when she was talking to you as she was doing it. And she was explaining to you why this is gonna hurt you more than it's gonna hurt me. I didn't see it that way. I mean, I wanted to ask her, let's try that, but you know.
You mean this is gonna hurt me more than it's gonna hurt you?
Right, yes. Oh, yes. No, this is hurting me. No, it was, this is hurting me. I don't see that happening right now. But it has to be an option.
Right.
But especially in this day, we were in the back and we were talking. And we understand that the youth these days, as tough as y'all think y'all are, it's a lot that y'all haven't seen.
Right.
And there were some things that New York in 2019 is vastly different than New York in 1986 and 1991 and all of those different things. And I know y'all feel like y'all have it all figured out. And so now, in this technological age, I know that we need to start to do things different. So a lot of times we as parents talk more. I think my children probably have gotten the least amount of mockers ever in life. More or less. And so we find a way, we try to find a different way in order to get the point across. But what happens is, sometimes, for some people, they just need that whip, and some people just need that rod, because that's the only way they're gonna listen. Come on.
Verse 4. Answer not a fool according to his folly, lest thou also be like unto him. Answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own eyes.
Right. So the first thing that they're telling you is, don't answer him according to his folly, because you and him arguing and being silly, someone looking from the outside can't tell who's who.
Both fools.
Look at these two fools over here
arguing
about whatever. And the other side of it is, when you answer him according to his folly, he becomes wise in his own eyes. Mm-hmm. Because he's brought you down to his or her level. Come on.
Verse 6. He that sendeth a message by the hand of a fool cutteth off his own feet and drinketh damage.
Sounds very severe.
Yeah. Verse 7. The legs hang limp from the lame, so it's a parable in the mouth of fools. As a small stone in a heap of stones, so is he that giveth honor to a fool.
It's like,
don't give him no credit.
Right. It's not, but no, it's like you asking for trouble.
Right.
It says a small stone in a heap of stones, so is he that giveth honor to a fool, because you can't. Because the second you take a fool and you give him honor, oh man, you don't know what you caused.
Right.
Come on.
As a thorn that cometh into the hand of a drunkard, so is a parable in the mouth of fools.
Oh, it's painful. You ever heard somebody talk and they try to use these big words?
Right.
Like they graduated third grade. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And they try to use just the biggest of words. Right. You know what it is? You don't understand the complexity of the trajectory of what it is that I'm trying to explanation to you right now.
Yeah. Trying too hard. Verse 10. A master performeth all things, but he that stoppeth a fool is as one that stoppeth a flood. As a dog that returneth to his vomit, so is a fool that repeateth his folly.
Right. So what it's saying is, it's just showing you how the Most High God looks at certain nasty things. It's like as a dog returns to his vomit, so is, and this is just not for a fool, this is just for anybody. You stop doing something because you've determined that it's wrong, and then you just keep going back. And you just keep going back. Come on.
Verse 12. Seest thou a man wise in his own eyes? There is more hope of a fool than of him.
You know, it's some people who, once they get their mind set, that's it. And you can't tell them anything. And
Right.
and it's gonna go in, it's gonna talk about this person, and then it's gonna go into the sluggard and all of these different things. But listen, once a person's mind is set, that's it. Come on.
Verse 13. The sluggard saith, there is a lion in the way, yea, a lioness in the streets. The door is turning.
Hold on. Right. Just drop down to verse 20, and we're gonna end in verse 20.
Verse 20. Where no wood is, the fire goeth out, and where there is no whisperer, contention ceaseth.
So, if we want some of our problems to go away, if we want some of our contentions to go away, if we want, you know, that's one of the things that causes so many issues, that causes us to not be able to get along, is people whispering and the murmuring, which we heard about all through today, all last week, the week before, the whispering, the murmuring. If we want that stuff to go away, we just need to learn how to communicate better.
Right.
And a lot of times communication is just us sitting down and talking and trying to work through an issue.
There you go.
And we don't have to get angry about it. We don't have to get mad about it. We don't have to fight about it. We could just sit down and calmly work through an issue. All honors, praises, respect, acknowledgement, and thanks I offer unto the great King of the universe, the Most High God, thanking him for all things and everything. Motzai Shabbat Shalom L'Kol.